Hi guys, it's Sunday morning in Australia. So I've just had 1.5 coffees and I thought I'd do a sort of freewheeling thing this morning and just see what comes up with the various parties. So I was reading the news first thing this morning. I do recommend it. Remember when people used to read news? If you watch too much television news, I think, it's a mental health threat. So I still read the news. I know I'm an antique, can't help it. Reading the news, Florida has reached 2 million cases. That's identified cases. Idaho has had to close down the House because 6 legislators tested positive. In Australia, we shut the borders of a state if we get 5 or 6 cases in a row like that, certainly up to 10. And even though we're a smaller country demographically, there's still the ratio. We're very onto it. But I want to come to America. I want to meet you guys. And that can't happen until you sort it out. Aww. Got to do it. I've got to get there. Say hello to you guys in the flesh, so to speak, or at least in the same country. So that's a plan I'm working on. Now, I hope a lot of you got to see the collaboration I did with Sheila, Celtic Tarot, and Linda G. We did a St. Patrick's Day special. If you haven't seen it, jump on board. And I was rabbiting on about Jennifer Weiselberg, the daughter-in-law of Alan Weiselberg, the Trump org accountant. And Linda thought, aha, maybe she's the woman who's going to bring Trump down. So between us, we had a sort of mini revelation during that. So in other news, of course, the news is never marvellous, and the shooting in Atlanta. The 21-year-old who shot 8 people, his defence was he has a sex addiction. Now, I'm sorry, I like chocolate. That doesn't give me the right to kill people who make chocolate, really. But on a deeper level, he's an active member of a really weird evangelical Southern Baptist sort of stronghold. And this is what happens when you demonize people on the grounds of ethnicity or this whole purity culture thing, and into the mix you have a very repressive line on sex. It feeds the worst of humanity. So I'm going to kick off today with the evangelicals. So I did a video a couple of years ago now called Are Evangelicals Even Christians? So maybe someone would like to look that up and see if anything's come to pass. In the meantime, I'm going to be using this deck, the Japaridze deck. Now, the evangelical movement. Is it still strong? Is it waning? Is it accountable? So let's have a look. What's happening with the evangelicals? Mind you, the mainstream Christians haven't been stepping up in large numbers with inspiring leadership about what to do with refugees at the border and so forth, but the evangelicals are particularly not on board. Let's have a look. Well, they still have power. On top here, the magician. There's a deep irony in this, viewers, because they're the ones who would say, they'd be the first to say tarot cards are the devil's work and, all this stuff about anything alternative. But I think they're the ones that are dabbling in the dark arts in the sense that I'm hearing the words poison Bible. Now, the Bible, like any other tract of text, can be interpreted in different ways, but they take the most narrow view you possibly can of the Bible. And sorry, I digress, viewers. The whole Old Testament, New Testament thing. So the Old Testament, an eye for an eye. Uneducated congregations love that sort of vengeful stuff, and the New Testament of turn the other cheek and embrace the stranger, and all of that gets left behind. So this is them. They're still working their magic. They still influence people. 10 of Wands, it's becoming a chess game of how they keep basically a stranglehold on entire towns, on entire regions. There's this sort of, definitely, obviously, chess pieces. It speaks to a strategy on some level. On the one hand, this is the equivalent of the Three of Swords. This is their collective heart being broken, not because one of their number has gone out and shot 8 people. No, 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 that's not what is upsetting them. What's upsetting them, I think, is their numbers are naturally dwindling. So for young gay or trans people in backwater sort of communities, they now can realise there is a world out there outside of it. So their numbers are dropping a bit, but they're still advocating things like conversion therapy and all that hideous stuff from the 30s, 40s and 50s. But I'm a bit mystified by this card. What is stressing them out? I think it is their dwindling numbers, but can't dwindle fast enough, because here, the Wheel of Fortune. Now, all of us keep waiting for these various milestones to happen, you know, in the political landscape and in the cultural landscape, and they are happening, but they take ages. So this is their card of karma and destiny. So this is interesting. The final card here, look, the puppeteer, the strategy and the puppet. You know, they're going to keep pulling people's strings. So we're not going to see the demise of the evangelical movement soon. We've even got some sort of Pentecostal Prime Minister here as we speak in Australia. Fortunately, enough of the grown-ups were able to get to him when COVID first happened and we were more sensible. But he's a bit strange. And the problem is he comes across as a really nice guy. You know how it's really hard. He doesn't look like a villainous fascist. He looks like, you know, your average dad with a few young kids. And Australians, well, we used to be much more cynical. Now we're going for that sort of personality type thing rather than the parties, and that's a real worry, and that's what got America into the problem you're in. So also here, partial shutdown of Mar-a-Lago. Pity it's only partial. But things, including the Atlanta stuff this week, which was anti-female. In the UK, you had a young woman who was murdered by a police officer, and there was a vigil for her, and then that turned into a very ugly confrontation with police and stuff. This anti-female stuff that's coming up. In Australia, my Australian viewers have asked me to read on Christian Porter, our Attorney General. So because everyone else in the world, I don't want you to get too bored, so it'll be a very quick read. But all this sort of energy is not good. It's like we're back in the 50s all of a sudden again. Me Too caused a wave, and now it's like the ebb back or something. Things are not good. Now, to fill you in on Christian Porter, allegedly, Allegedly, he raped a 16-year-old 30-odd years ago. She never lodged a formal complaint, but she told a lot of people over the years, and she was very distressed and only recently took her own life. Oh, fly. Fly, I'm having a Mike Pence moment with the fly. Go away, fly. So this brought it to everyone's attention, the fact that she took her own life. He broke down in tears but refuses to resign. So this is a very quick micro read on Christian Porter. The woman in question also, there was a complaint made to our female defence minister who described a woman as a lying cow for complaining about sexual assault. Women who support the misogynist men are the worst of the worst. So a friend of mine is printing T-shirts going, "I'm a lying cow too." So I might get one of those. Okay, so quick look at Christian Porter. Will anything come of this case, or will he get away? So I think here he gets 10 of cards, just with, he's starting to, oh sorry, holding the card up to the top of the computer. Oh, that's another thing, my darling intrepid viewers. I bought a new computer last week. Got it all set up, which was not easy with my dinosaur brain, and it crashed. It was only 4 days old. So today I have to go and beg and grovel and take it back. But back to Christian Porter, the Australian Attorney General. He's being swept along for now in that he's supported by the government. It's a very old case, very hard to prove. All of that has to be taken into account. But he's being protected as we speak, but he's not looking that good. This is the kind of sad gesture. I think his time will be tainted with this. The Stranger and the Hermit, like, I don't think he's going to get many dinner invites or, you know, opportunities to join people at barbecues. I think he's going to be frozen out socially, and that's as far as I see it going. Ooh. All right, now, Aussie viewers, oi, oi, oi. We're experiencing extreme weather. Depending where you are in the country, there's been a lot of rain. That is preferable to the bushfires that were so horrendous, but there's been a lot of rain. Okay, I'm going to continue with the theme of the anti-female theme. Tucker Carlson coming out complaining about women in the military and mocking pregnant women in the military and saying it's feminizing, you know, the American Armed Services, etc., etc. I'm surprised he could get the word out. But it's more serious than that, and Tammy Duckworth can do a much better job than me at shouting him down, you know. But he's not alone. So, like I said, stuff in the UK happening, stuff in Australia happening, and stuff in the US. So let's have a global look. What is my actual question? This backlash against women. This backlash against women. I'm not even asking yes or no. I want to see what the cards come up with. What is this backlash about women about? Backlash. And of course, that's without the household economics. Another digression, viewers. Who is most impacted by the pandemic globally? Women. Who have the most vulnerable jobs in the service industries that have closed down by the million? Women. Who are doing the double shifts at home and work if they've got work? Women. Who are teaching the kids at home? Oh, It's women. Okay. So already the worst paid, and it's just compounded by thousands by the actual pandemic. So women are doing it tough. At this time, we are being assaulted on all fronts. So let's have a look here. Yes. Look, these cards, there's nothing new in these cards per se. I have to say that first up. But if I was teaching tarot, which I do, by the way, but the next 2 intakes are booked up, so please don't email me about that, but I do teach tarot. If we had a pretend spread for this question, what is it about how women are treated all over the world? These are the cards I picked to make this point, that they're so crystal clear. Okay, so in the middle, this is the burden that women are facing everywhere. So it's hard enough in first world countries. So the issues are again magnified. If you're in a struggling country, it's much more likely that you're up against it for a whole range of obvious reasons. So it's a global burden. And so again, if you do the economics, if you want a country to prosper, you educate the girls. If you want a country to control its population, you don't have to do it through these nasty repressive means like the one-child policy or any of that. You educate the girls. In any country, in any culture, you give a young girl an education, and you know what? She won't have 16 kids. She'll have 2. So this is the burden of the lack of education, but it's the burden being carried by women. In the past, things were a little bit better. By past, I mean the last few years before the pandemic, things were getting a bit better. This is women comparatively celebrating. But now women everywhere have to be looking for a safe place. And often that is not in their home. Often that is not in their community. So women need more safe spaces, literally, but also symbolically. It's still really tough. And if a young girl gets attacked or anything and she's wearing a short skirt, there's still that response that there was when I was a young girl in 1965 or something. She asked for it, you know, because she had a little leopard skin mini skirt on or something. So this is women needing safe spaces in this misogynistic climate. The world card turned up, i.e. it's a global issue. Why is it happening? Here we have the Hierophant. So this is convention and conventional religions. And this is why I was just speaking earlier about the Evangelicals, but not, please don't think I'm just hammering on about the Evangelicals. I am just as critical of the Catholic Church and many others. They have spent the last 2,000 years cultivating this position of inferiority for women. So when we go, why is it so hard to shift and move on? This is a major reason. And this also speaks to structures of society. So it's reinforced everywhere, and you can have as many Dora the Explorer series out as you like, and you know, you can try and do it with the Lara Crofts, and those of us who aren't 22 will remember Xena, Warrior Woman. Okay, so these are important steps, but they're just steps. The point is, this is a fixed institution, and until these institutions change, it's not going to get better on the ground. So it's a cultural mindset that has to shift. But with the world card, before I finish on this topic, I think there is movement globally. It's just like so many of these issues, it's almost as if we have to wait for the older generation to just pass on. And it's very important for young people everywhere to not reproduce this and make this the new normal for 18-year-olds and 25-year-olds and 35-year-olds. If we allow the Hierophant to be the new normal, things won't progress. And if women aren't doing well, families aren't doing well. And if families aren't doing well, societies aren't doing well. Remember my mantra, we do not live in an economy, we live in a society. And so strong women with healthy relationships build healthy families, and healthy families make for healthy countries and prosperous countries. Why? The converse is also true. Grind women into the dust and you end up with an impoverished nation. Okay, so not a massive revelation, but just an opportunity to say that. So please keep the comments rolling in and tell me in the comments, not in emails, tell me in the comments what you'd like me to read on too. Because as soon as I get either a juicy question or 4 or 5 people suggest the same thing, it goes on the list. Okay. So now I've got to limp back to the computer shop. So I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao, ciao.